I was the abandoned one who cared for my dying ancestor for years. Abaki passed. He larboard my sister a 950K house. I got the old, crumbling basin house. Assumption you were the affliction daughter. My sister laughed. But aback I stepped central that house. What I activate afflicted everything. If you're watching this, subscribe, and let me apperceive breadth you're watching from. My name is Margaret Patterson, and at 67, I anticipation I'd abstruse not to expect fairness from life. But continuing in that lawyer's appointment 3 canicule. Afterwards, Dad's funeral, alert to his will being read, I apparent there are base of animality I never imagined. To my daughter, Patricia, I leave my primary residence at 45.1 Maple Drive, admired at about $950,000. My sister Patricia's altogether manicured fingers anchored about her Hermes purse as she approved to attending appropriately somber. She was declining miserably, and to my babe Margaret, I leave the lake house acreage on Clearwater Road. The lawyer's articulation was clinical, professional. He did an acknowledgement that the lake house acreage was a adulteration birth I hadn't apparent in 15 years. Patricia waited absolutely 30 abnormal afterwards. We larboard the office afore the knife went in. "Well, Maggie," she said. Application, the childhood nickname I'd consistently hated. I assumption we apperceive who Dad absolutely loved. Her beam was aciculate as burst glass. Assumption you were the affliction babe afterwards all. I capital. To admonish her about the 3 years I spent active 2 hours anniversary way to Dad's house every distinct day. About the concrete analysis appointments, the doctor visits. The nights I slept in his uncomfortable guest allowance armchair because he was abashed to be alone. About how she visited absolutely 6 times in those 3 years, always with an alibi about actuality too active with her acknowledged absolute acreage business. But I said nothing. I'd learned connected ago that arguing with Patricia was like affronted with a pig. You both get dirty, but the pig enjoys it. The drive to Clear Baptise Alley took 47 account through Embagus a back anchorage I almost remembered. The lake house sat on 2 acreage of awkward property, its asperous shingles crimper like arthritic fingers, paint balled from the shutters, and the advanced balustrade sagged like an old man's shoulders. Perfect, I muttered, fishing the age-old key from my purse. My inheritance, a money pit with a view. But aback I affronted that key and stepped inside. My acrimony died in my throat. The autogenous should accept been musty and dark, abounding with the dried air of abandonment. Instead, addition had been advancement this place. Contempo maintenance. The bulk floors gleamed with beginning polish. Dust covers protected furniture that was far too nice for an abandoned cabin. And in the kitchen, still balmy in the coffee maker, was a pot of coffee that couldn't accept been brewed added than an hour ago. I stood frozen, my duke still on the aperture knob, processing what this meant. Either addition was clearing in my anew affiliated property, or Dad had been keeping secrets, big ones. "Hello," I alleged out, my articulation alveolate through. Rooms that smelled faintly of auto oil and boilerplate candles. "Anyone here?" Blackout answered me, but it wasn't an empty silence. It was the blackout of captivated breath, of addition waiting. I walked through the active room, acquainted the adequate furniture, the collapsed awning TV army on the wall, the bookshelf abounding with mysteries and affair novels. This wasn't a man cavern or a hunting lodge. This was a home. A carefully maintained, acquiescently active home. In the bedroom, I activate the first real clue. On the nightstand sat an affected photograph of my father. But he looked different, adolescent somehow, despite his gray hair. He was smiling, absolutely smiling, not the annoyed grimace I'd developed acclimatized to in his final years. His arm was about a woman I'd never apparent before. She was allegedly 60, with argent beard cut in a beautiful bob and beam curve about ablaze dejected eyes. She wore a chicken sundress and looked at my ancestor, like he abashed the moon and stars abandoned for her entertainment. "Well, well, well, Dad," I said to the photograph. "What added surprises did you leave me?" I best up the frame. belief the woman's face. Something about her seemed familiar, but I couldn't abode breadth-eye ability except to parent her. The photo looked recent, within the last year or two, based on how Dad looked. A babble from the kitchen fabricated me freeze. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps bridged the bulk floor. Addition was absolutely in the house. My aboriginal aptitude was to alarm out again, but commodity chock-full me. If this woman, because the footsteps articulate audibly feminine, had a key and acquainted comfortable enough to accomplish coffee, afresh she knew added about my father's secrets than I did. I slipped the photograph into my purse and crept to join the kitchen, my affection beating ajoin my ribs like it was aggravating to escape. Through the doorway, I could see a mount effective about the kitchen with accessible familiarity. It was her, the woman from the photograph. She was abrasion coffee cups at the sink, bustling cautiously to herself. In person, she was alike more striking than in the photograph, assured in the way women get aback they've chock-full caring what others think about their choices. I austere my throat. She turned, and for a moment we stared at anniversary added above Dad's secret kitchen. Her eyes were absolutely blue, but they captivated an accurateness that the photograph hadn't captured. This was a woman who didn't ache fools gladly. "You charge me, Margaret," she said finally, drying her easily on a bowl anhydrate abstract with tiny ducks. Her articulation was balmy but cautious. "I'm Eleanor. Eleanor Walsh. Eleanor." I activated the name. "And you would be addition your father cared about absolute much." She abashed the anhydrate anxiously on its hook. "I've been assured you." The accidental way she said it, like she'd been cat and mouse for a banquet bedfellow instead of the babe of a man who'd allegedly been active a double life, fabricated my jaw clench. "Assured me? That's interesting, because I had no abstraction you existed until 5 account ago." I pulled out one of the kitchen chairs and sat bottomward, uninvited. "So, why don't you acquaint me absolutely what your accord was with my father?" Eleanor advised me for a connected moment, then caked herself a beginning cup of coffee. She didn't action me one. Richard and I were companions. Friends. More than friends, if you appetite the complete truth. For how long? 7 years. 7 years. I did the math. That meant this accord started while Mom was still animate during her final action with cancer. The betrayal hit me like a concrete blow. "So, you were his mistress." The chat tasted absinthian in my mouth. Eleanor's eyes flashed. "I was the woman who fabricated him blessed aback your mother was dying and your sister was too busy to visit. And you." She paused, appearing to amend her words. "When you were accustomed the weight of aggregate alone, don't." I stood up so fast the armchair aching adjoined the floor. "Don't you cartel accomplish this about me. I'm not authoritative it about annihilation, except the truth." Eleanor remained perfectly calm, which somehow fabricated aggregate worse. "Your ancestor was the acceptable man bent in an absurd situation. Your mother was dying slowly, painfully. You were drowning, aggravating to affliction for both of them. He was watching his family fall afar and activity helpless. So he ran to you. He activate abundance with me. There's a difference." I capital to scream at her to acerbity about adherence and charge and how alliance vows don't come with escape clauses, but commodity in her accent chock-full me. This wasn't a woman authoritative excuses. This was a woman stating facts. "Breath does that leave me now?" I asked. "This is my abode now legally." Eleanor smiled. "And it wasn't absolutely pleasant. Actually, it's not. Excuse me?" Eleanor absolved to a kitchen drawer and pulled out a manila folder. She set it on the table amid us like a poker abecedarian, laying bottomward a aristocratic flush. "Your ancestor was abounding things. Sentimental, stubborn, occasionally foolish. Aback it came to his daughters, but he wasn't absent-minded with acknowledged documents." She opened the folder, revealing an assemblage of affidavit covered in official attractive seals and signatures. "This abode was transferred to a living trust 3 years ago. I'm the primary beneficiary. I stared at the documents, trying to action what she was cogent me. But the will leaves you the acreage at Clearwater Road. This property, she gestured about the kitchen. But the abode itself, an aggregate in it, belongs to the Clearwater Trust, which belongs to me. The implications hit me like an alternation of slaps. Dad hadn't aloof accustomed me a worthless inheritance. He'd accustomed me a allotment of acreage with addition else's abode on it. Acreage I couldn't sell, couldn't mortgage, couldn't do annihilation with except pay taxes on. Your cogent me, I affiliated the clay but not the building. Essentially, yes. I sat aback bottomward hard. Patricia's amusement echoed in my memory. Assumption you were the affliction daughter. If she abandoned knew how abundant worse it absolutely was. Although, Eleanor continued, there is commodity abroad you should know. Of course there was. In my experience, a back edition says there's commodity else. It's never acceptable news. Your ancestor labored specific instructions. Letters, actually. One for you, one for Patricia. Eleanor pulled 2 bankrupt envelopes from the folder. He asked me to accord them to you both afterwards the will was read. I took the envelope with my name accounting in Dad's familiar handwriting. The cardboard acquainted heavy, substantial. Whatever he had to say, it was an activity to be brief. What about Patricia? That's amid her and Richard, although I doubtable her letter contains some absorbing admonition about her bequest as well. I tore accessible the envelope, my easily shaking slightly. The letter was 3 pages long, accounting in Dad's accurate script. The Aboriginal band fabricated my animation catch. My dearest Maggie, if your account this, afresh you've met Eleanor and apparent my secret. By now you're probably angry, confused, and activity betrayed. Let me explain. I looked up at Eleanor, who was watching me carefully. Did you apprehend this? He apprehend genitalia of it to me, not all. I turned back to the letter. My father's articulation alveolate in my apperception as I apprehend his words. What he told me abutting afflicted everything I anticipation I knew about my family. The abode on Maple Drive isn't absolutely abundance to give. It belongs to your sister. I read the book 3 times before it sank in. Afresh I apprehended aloud to accomplish abiding. I wasn't hallucinating. The house on Maple Drive isn't absolutely abundance to give. It belongs to your sister. Eleanor nodded grimly. Accumulate reading. 3 years ago, aback your mother's medical bills became overwhelming. I was adverse bankruptcy. The abode was activity to go into foreclosure. Patricia offered to buy it from me quietly, acceptance me to remain as the addressee until my death. She paid $950,000 for a abode she already owned. Technically speaking, the will artlessly makes that buying official. I set the letter bottomward and stared at Eleanor. So, Patricia has been the acknowledged buyer of Dad's abode for 3 years. Correct. And she let anybody anticipate Dad was leaving it to her in his will? Additionally correct. I messed up the letter again, my hands trembling with commodity that wasn't affliction anymore. It was rage. But here's what your sister doesn't apperceive, and what you charge to understand. Patricia's acquirement of the abode wasn't absolutely legal. She acclimated her position as my financial ability of advocate to about advertise the abode to herself at beneath bizarre value. What she did constitutes ancient banking abuse. The pieces started falling into place. Patricia's absolute acreage business, her insistence on administration Dad's affairs in his final years, her acceptable absence during his circadian care. I have documentation of everything, the letter continued. Bank records, correspondence, affidavit that she manipulated me into signing abstracts I didn't absolutely understand. I kept quiet because I bear her admonition, and because I hoped she would eventually do the appropriate thing. I looked at Eleanor. How abundant of this did you know? All of it. Your father and I had abounding connected conversations about his daughters, about Patricia's abetment, and your sacrifice. She refilled her coffee cup, a fresh, assuredly caked one for me. He acquainted amazing answerability about what Patricia was accomplishing and tremendous affliction about the accountability you agitated alone. If he knew what she was doing, why didn't he stop her? Because by the time he absolutely accepted what had happened, he was abased on both of you in altered ways. Patricia controlled his finances. You controlled his circadian care. He was abashed that advertisement Patricia would abort any chance of his ancestors' healing. I connected reading. The lake house acreage is a count far added than anyone realizes. I had it surveyed after most year. The acreage abandoned is admired at $1.2 million due to baptized rights and contempo bartering development in the area. But added importantly, there's commodity on the acreage that Patricia doesn't apperceive about. My easily were afraid so abominably I could almost authority the letter. In 1987, The year afterwards, your mother and I bought the Basin house. I apparent commodity while accomplishing foundation repairs. I never told anyone, not alike your mother, but I accurate aggregate and fabricated abiding the secret died with me. Except now it doesn't accept to. The letter concluded with coordinates and instructions to look under the apart floorboard in the bedchamber closet. Eleanor watched me action this admonition with the patience of addition who'd had months to blot these revelations herself. You knew about whatever's hidden here. I knew Richard had activate commodity valuable. I knew it was allotment of why he acquainted adequate appointment the house to the trust. He capital to accomplish abiding, you'd accept commodity substantial, commodity that would atone for years of sacrifice. Eleanor set bottomward her coffee cup. I don't apperceive the specifics. I absolved to the bedroom, Eleanor following. The closet was small, abounding with men's accoutrement that still smelled faintly of Dad's aftershave. In the back corner, I activate the apart lath he described. Underneath was a metal box sealed with abundant band that had yellowed with age. Central the box were photographs, documents, and a journal wrapped in plastic. The photographs showed the lake house as it was actuality built, but they additionally showed something else. Artifacts, pottery, tools, what looked like jewelry, Native American artifacts based on the characteristic patterns and craftsmanship. Dad's account accurate everything methodically, dates, descriptions, photographs of anniversary allotment in situ. He'd discovered what appeared to be a cogent Native American adjustment site, possibly several hundred years old. My God, I whispered, flipping through pages of accurate documentation. This could be account millions, Eleanor finished. But added than that, it's historically significant. Your father spent 37 years researching, documenting, attention this site. He never exploited it because he acquainted it bare to be preserved properly. The final access in the account was anachronous 2 months before Dad's death. I've contacted Dr. Sarah Bennett at the Accompaniment Archaeological Commission. She's agreed to analysis the site afterwards my death. Margaret will charge to alike with her. This analysis belongs to history, but the finder's fee and acreage rights should defended Margaret's future. I sat on the bed, overwhelmed. In the amount of 2 hours, I'd gone from inheriting a abandoned birth to potentially actuality amenable for a above archaeological discovery. There's more, Eleanor said quietly. She handed me a business card. Dr. Sarah Bennett, Accompaniment Archaeological Commission. Edition had accounting a date on the back, tomorrow's date, and a time 2 hours. Your ancestor abiding everything. Dr. Bennett will be here tomorrow to activate the basic survey. If the armpit is as cogent as he believed, you'll accept compensation as the landowner. Additionally, allotment of any building acquisitions. My buzz buzzed. Argument bulletin from Patricia. Hope you adore your little shack, sis. Maybe you can about-face it into a nice bivouac park. LOL. I showed the message to Eleanor, who befuddled her arch in disgust. Your sister has no abstraction what she's aloof lost, does she? No, I said, looking about at the abode that a back acquainted different, answerable with achievability and secrets. But she's about to acquisition out because tomorrow a back Dr. Bennett arrived. Aggregate would change, and Patricia's absolute apple was about to appear abolition bottomward in means she couldn't possibly imagine. Dr. Sarah Bennett accustomed at absolutely $2 PM active aeronaceous, Jeep loaded with accessories that looked like it belonged on an amplitude mission. She was adolescent than I'd expected, maybe 45, with short auburn beard and the affectionate of applied clothes that said she spent added time digging in clay than sitting in offices. Mrs. Patterson, I'm Sarah Bennett. Her handshake was firm, her eyes ablaze with excitement. Your ancestor was absolutely the Abecedarian archaeologist. His documentation is extraordinary. We absolved the acreage together, Eleanor blockage cautiously in the house. Dr. Bennett acclimated some affectionate of ground-biting alarm device, demography readings, and authoritative addendum on a tablet. This is remarkable, she said afterwards about an hour. The armpit appears to extend able-bodied above what your ancestor initially discovered. We're attractive at what could be a cogent pre-Colian settlement, possibly dating back 800 years. The dollar signs were about aflame in my head, but I approved to comedy it cool. What does that beggarly practically speaking? For you, abundant advantage for history? Potentially rewriting what we perceive about Aboriginal settlements in this region. She arranged up her equipment. I'll charge too. Accompany a full aggregation abutting week, but based on these basic readings, I can acquaint you that your acreage rights as landowner will be account ample money. Afterwards she left, I alleged Patricia. Time to have some fun, Maggie. Her articulation, was dank sweet, the way it consistently got when she anticipation she'd won something. "How's your little berth in the woods?" "Oh, it's abounding of surprises," I said, clearing into one of Eleanor's adequate chairs. "Actually, I'm calling because I charged some admonition about Affairs property." The pause was delicious. "Affairs already? Well, it turns out the lake house might be account added than I thought. I had it appraised. Not technically a lie. The acreage amount abandoned is absolutely impressive." "How impressive?" Patricia's articulation had absent its sweetness. "Let's aloof say it ability be account added than Dad's abode on Maple Drive." Another pause. Longer this time. "That's impossible, Maggie. That property is worthless." H. Well, the adjudicator seemed to anticipate differently. Commodity about baptized rights and development potential. I was adequate this far too much. Anyway, I should let you go. I accept some buzz calls to make about the sale. I abashed up before she could respond. Patricia showed up unannounced the abutting morning, driving her white BMW like she was beat a abomination scene. I watched from the kitchen window as she anchored AG and marched to the advanced aperture with the bent stride of addition about to appeal satisfaction. "We charge to talk," she announced aback as Eleanor opened the door. "Patricia," I alleged from the kitchen. "How lovely. Coffee." She stalked into the kitchen, her altogether styled beard attractive, hardly wind-blown. "I appetite to apperceive what affectionate of game you're playing." "Game?" I caked coffee into Dad's admired mug, the one that said, "World's greatest ancestor," that I'd given him 20 years ago. I'm not arena any games. I'm aloof exploring my options as an acreage owner. There's no way that dump is account what you adumbrated yesterday. Dump? Eleanor's articulation was ice cold. This abode has been lovingly maintained for 7 years. Patricia's eyes narrowed as she took in Eleanor's proprietary tone. "And you are?" "Eleanor Walsh. I was your father's companion." "His what girlfriend?" I clarified helpfully. For 7 years, they were absolutely adherent to anniversary other. Patricia's face went through several absorbing blush changes. "That's impossible. Dad would never what? Acquisition beatitude after Mom died." I sat bottomward above from her, or never accumulate secrets from his daughters. This is ridiculous. Patricia pulled out her phone. "I'm calling my absolute acreage agent. We'll get an absolute appraisal." "Good idea." I leaned back in my chair. "Although you ability appetite to delay until afterwards the archaeological analysis is complete." Patricia froze. "Patricia, archaeological survey." "Oh, didn't I mention the accompaniment is sending an aggregation to burrow what appears to be a cogent Native American settlement on the property?" Dad accurate the accomplished affair afore he died. I sipped my coffee. Turns out he was absolutely the amateur archaeologist. You're lying. Eleanor abolished into the bedchamber, an alternate with Dad's journal, setting it on the table. Patricia addled through the pages, her face growing paler with anniversary photograph. This can't be real. Dr. Bennett from the Accompaniment Archaeological Agency seemed to anticipate it was absolute real. She's bringing a full aggregation a budding week. Patricia's easily were afraid as she bankrupt the journal. I appetite half. Bisected of what? Whatever this is worth. I'm his daughter, too. I laughed, and it wasn't a nice sound. "Patricia, sweetie, you already got your half. You got the $950,000 house, remember? That's different, is it? Because from breadth I'm sitting. It looks like Dad disconnected his assets absolutely as he intended." I leaned forward. "Of course, if you'd like to altercate the acknowledged buying of that house," her face went asleep white. "What do you mean?" "Time for the annihilate shot. I mean, the abode you affiliated 3 canicule ago, the one you've absolutely endemic for 3 years. I pulled Dad's letter from my purse. The one you bought from him application your ability of attorney, essentially selling his abode to yourself." Patricia's aperture opened and bankrupt like an angle asthmatic for air. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Ancient banking abuse, Patricia. That's what it's alleged a back addition in a position of assurance manipulates an aged actuality into banking affairs that account the manipulator. I abundant the letter. Dad accurate everything. He bear the money for mom's medical bills. He bear help, not exploitation. Eleanor's voice was sharp. There's an aberration amid allowance and stealing. I didn't abduct anything. I paid fair bazaar value. Below bazaar value, I adapted for a abode you afresh accustomed him to accept he still owned, while you calm the tax benefits of ownership. I stood up. But don't worry, I'm not activity to address you to the authorities. Patricia's relief was visible. You're not? No, because your activity to accomplish things appropriate voluntarily. What do you want? I want you to alteration bisected the amount of the Maple Drive abode to me. $475,000. Consider it a back acquittal for 3 years of Dad's affliction while you were active arena absolute acreage mogul. That's extortion. That's justice. You can alteration the money, or I can booty Dad's affidavit to the commune advocate and let them sort it out. I shrugged. Your choice. Patricia was quiet for a connected moment. Probably artful costs and allowances in her head. And if I do this, we're even. We're even. Fine. But I appetited in writing already prepared. Eleanor produced the acknowledged certificate from the manila folder. One of the advantages of dating a woman who spent 30 years as a paralegal. Patricia apprehended through the agreement, her jaw clenching tighter with anniversary clause. Finally, she acted it with sharp, affronted strokes. You've changed, Maggie. Yes, I said. I've chock-full actuality stupid. Afterwards, Patricia left. Eleanor and I sat on the advanced porch, watching her BMW abandon down the road. How does it feel? Eleanor asked, like I can assuredly breathe again. But the best allotment was still coming. Dr. Bennett's aggregation accustomed the afterward Monday with abundant accessories to excavate King Tut's tomb. Within 3 days, they'd bald-headed ceramics fragments, tools, and what appeared to be the foundation of a cogent structure. This is extraordinary, Dr. Bennett told me as we stood watching her aggregation anxiously be some clay from her allotment of intricately carved stone. We're attractive at a major find. The adjustment is beyond an added adult than annihilation we've apparent in this region. And financially, the finder's fee abandoned will be substantial. Plus, as the landowner, you'll accept advantage for the archaeological easement, and if any artifacts are acquired by museums, you'll accept a percentage. She paused. We're talking about 7 figures. Minimum. 7 figures. I sat bottomward adamantine on a folding armchair Addition had left nearby. There's commodity else, Dr. Bennett continued. The National Geographic Society has expressed interest in documenting the excavation. They're talking about a television special, possibly a series. I thought about Patricia, allegedly sitting in her base-born house, artful how abundant money she anticipation she'd adored by manipulating Dad. She had no abstraction that while she'd been burglary hundreds of thousands, I was sitting on millions. That evening, Eleanor and I acclaimed with a canteen of wine on the advanced porch. Your ancestor would be so proud, she said, raising her glass. I anticipate he knew absolutely what he was doing. I looked out over the acreage breadth floodlights illuminated the dig site. He spent 37 years attention this place, cat and mouse for the appropriate moment. The appropriate moment for me to be accessible to handle it. 3 years ago, I would accept awash this abode to the Aboriginal developer who fabricated an offer. I would have let Patricia steamroll me into agreeable aggregate 50-50. I sipped my wine, but accident everything, discovering his secrets, a fair you, it all afflicted me. My buzz buzzed. A argument from Patricia. Saw the account trucks. What's activity on? I showed the bulletin to Eleanor, who grinned wickedly. Appetite to have some fun, I typed back. Archaeological discovery. Absolutely significant. Should be on the evening news. 3 account later, my buzz rang. Margaret. Patricia's articulation was strained. I anticipate we should allocution about what? I anticipate our exceeding was too hasty. Maybe we should renegotiate. Our exceeding is active and accurately binding, Patricia. Besides, anticipation you said the property was worthless. Things change. Yes, they do. But our accord doesn't. I bashed up and turned off my phone. The final adumbration was still to come. The National Geographic cameras, accustomed 2 weeks later, accessed my quiet lake house into a media circus. Dr. Bennett's team had bald-headed what they were calling one of the best cogent pre-Columbian sites east of the Mississippi. Patricia showed up during filming, aggravating to admit herself into the story. "I'm Margaret's sister," she told the reporter. Our ancestor consistently knew this acreage was special. I watched her achievement with fascination. After everything that had happened, she still anticipation she could dispense her way into an allotment of commodity that wasn't hers. The reporter, an advertent woman called Jennifer Martinez, wasn't buying it. "But you didn't accede this property, did you?" "Well, no, but ancestors is family." "Mrs. Patterson," Jennifer turned to me, "how does it feel to go from what abounding bodies affected was the afflicted babe to potentially one of the wealthiest women in the county?" I looked anon into the camera. "It feels like justice." Later, afterwards, the cameras arranged up and Patricia slunk away. Eleanor and I absolved bottomward to the lake. The baptize was calm, absorption the sunset like a mirror. "So what now?" Eleanor asked. "Now I account Dad's wishes. The armpit gets appropriately preserved. The artifacts go to museums breath bodies can apprentice from them, and I use the money to animate the activity I should accept been active all along." "Any regrets?" Anticipation about that. "I regret that Dad acquainted he couldn't acquaint me the accuracy while he was alive. I affliction the years I spent cerebration. I wasn't good enough, acute enough, acknowledged enough. I best up a bland bean and skipped it above the water. But I don't regret Patricia accepting absolutely what she deserved, which was the ability that while she was burglary hundreds of thousands, she was additionally giving up millions." I affronted to Eleanor. "She'll spend the blow of her activity alive that her acquisitiveness amount her everything." 6 months later, I was featured on the awning of Archaeology Today magazine. The commodity was Blue-Blooded, The Accidental Archaeologist, How One Woman's Bequest Rewrote History. Patricia never contacted me again, but I heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd put the Maple Drive abode on the market. Apparently, the acreage taxes and aliment on a house she'd bought with base-born money were added than she could handle. As for me, I kept the Basin House, accustomed a foundation to abutment archaeological research, and at the age of 67, assuredly abstruse what it acquainted like to be valued for who I was, rather than what I could do for added people. Sometimes the worst inheritance turns out to be the best allowance you never knew you needed, and sometimes the sister who gets everything loses added than she could any time imagine. The lake house accomplished me that secrets accept a way of absolute themselves when the time is right. And animus aback it comes artlessly tastes sweeter than any inheritance any time could. Thanks for listening. Don't balloon to subscribe and feel chargeless to allotment your adventure in the comments. Your articulation matters.